Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This episode has been brought to you by the Wine to Wine Business Forum 2022. This year will mark the 9th edition of the forum to be held on November 7th and 8th of 2022 in Verona, Italy. This year will be an exclusively in-person edition. The main theme of the event will be all-round wine communication. Tickets are on sale now, so for more information, please visit us at winetowine.net. Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner. My name is Joy Livingston. I'm standing in for Stevie Kim. She normally does these, but she's getting back from Campania. So I'm doing this for this evening. And Clubhouse. We do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. And this is a great opportunity for ambassadors of the Vinitaly International Academy and wine lovers, of course, to get to know their favorite producer and, make contacts and basically ask the questions that they've always wanted to ask their favorite producer. We do replay this on the Italian Wine Podcast. So this will be on there in the next couple weeks or so. And that's so that people who are not in the same time zone can catch it or for whatever reason. So it's actually really popular on the Italian Wine Podcast. So, that's great. So for today, we have Giovanni Pesquera-Elia being interviewed by Matt Paice. And if I have butchered anybody's name, I really apologize. Matt, are you there?
I certainly am. It's quite hard to get my name wrong.
It's good. And I detect a British accent. Where are you right now?
I'm in London, where it's raining very hard.
Okay. I wish it would rain here. It hasn't rained in a long time. So So I will go ahead and give you a quick introduction, and then I'll turn you over. I'll let you do your thing, and you can go ahead and introduce Giovanni from the Paitine Winery. So you're the operations director of Enoteca da Luca. Independent group of 3 Italian restaurants and wine bars in central London. And you're also a wine ambassador, and also you have your WSET Level 3. Is there anything else you would like to tell me about yourself before I hand you over?
Well, that's my bio. That kind of pretty much covers it. You've got me in 2 sentences there. That's all good.
That's very, very British.
Let's get on to the important person who's the genius winemaker.
Fantastic. I love it. So, Giovanni, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so actually, before I go, I just wanted to ask a couple things that Stevie always likes me to ask, which is, Matt, what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this interview? And how did you discover the wines of Paitine?
Sure. So learning objectives, I would say, I can answer both questions at the same time. So why Paitine and what are the learning objectives? Barbaresco is famous for its varied soils and all the different sites. It's harder to understand than Barolo, where, there's many, the villages and the subzones, relatively easy to get your head round. Whereas I would say Barbaresco is harder because there's so much more variety. And that is one of Paitin's strengths, I think, and I hope to talk to Giovanni about this, is how they have pioneered the use of single vineyard and understanding what each different plot does and what kind of different Barbaresco that makes. So that's one of the reasons for wanting to interview Giovanni. How did I discover them? I think I first tasted Paitin wine, if I'm not wrong, at Nebbiolo Day, which is a fantastic event in London that happens. It's happened twice or three times, put on by the journalist Walter Speller. And so, if you're ever in London, if you're in the UK, you must go because it's an amazing event. And then in April of this year, I went to Grandi Langhe in Torino, which is an event organized by the Consorzio di Tutela di Barolo and Barbaresco and Doriani. And, same thing. So big tasting, mostly Nebbiolo, but also some Dolcetto and Barbera. And I met Luca, Giovanni's son, at that event and tasted some of the 2019s. And we know, which everyone is saying is going to be a pretty stellar vintage for Barbaresco and Barolo, and was just super, super impressed. And then I happened to get invited to a lunch with Luca in London 2 months later. So, yeah, it's I've just ordered myself a case of the 2019 Sori Paitin, which isn't even in London yet. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Paitin wines.
Awesome. That actually does sound really great. If I'm ever in London, I know exactly where I'm going to go. So go ahead, you guys. I will come back at the end, and we may have a couple questions or not. Depends on the time. And until then, I will mute myself. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Giovanni. Ciao. Come stai?
Ciao, Matt. I'm fine, thanks. We just started the harvest last week.
Oh wow,
Everything looks nice. We hope now the weather continue like I guess now it's cooling down at night. The grapes are looking very, very nice. So we crossing fingers for this vintage.
fantastic. And how much longer will you be picking for?
So this since it was a warm summer, we are starting. So just started with Arnese and Dolcetto, but we continue with Barbera and Nebbiolo. I think at the end of the month, everything will be done.
Okay,
Mhm.
amazing. So I wanted to kind of first of all, put the estate into perspective. It's a very historic estate, isn't it? One of
Yeah.
Paitin, one of the
Mhm.
oldest.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about the history. How long? I know I think different families have come together over the centuries. Tell us,
Mhm.
please, about the history.
Yes, a short history. We are in this location since 1796. The family purchased the first part of this estate just after the French Revolution, before Napoleon came. So in a couple of years later, Napoleon arrived in the area. We still have a document with the Napoleon stamp when we purchased the second section of the winery, and we had for many years not only vineyards, like it was a classic farm with also some hazelnuts, some peaches, and also some animals. We kept the cows and oxes until 1970 to work in the vineyard before the first tractor. First tractor came in 1970. I remember. I was born in 1959, so I remember my parents working with the animals. Was a really tough time. Um, so then the family they continue making wine, other things, and then my great grandfather in 1890s, Elia Giuseppe decided to focus mostly in winemaking, and he started to make the first labels. We have no information about labels before him. Um, then some he started to export also to London first because his cousin had a restaurant in London in the early 20th century, before World War One. Um,
Really?
yeah.
How
Mhm.
funny. Okay, that's
he,
amazing.
he moved there as to be a waiter. Then he married the owner of the restaurant. So they opened also later the family in another restaurant in New York. My great grandfather started to export Barbaresco to New York, probably one of the first of that period. Then continue after World War Two. So after World War One, during World War Two was a complex situation because my great grandfather and my grandfather both died. So during the war was really complex. My father started to work with a family in 1948 and restarted the business. Not restart, but they continued, improved a little bit. The business was down for like 10 years. I came about 40 years ago, around 40 years ago, working with my father. I also have a younger brother, Silvano, which is also an enologist like me, but is mostly the winemaker now. We are sharing the different things, and it's mostly him in the cellar. Um, and
So,
then,
sorry, so you must have been about 20 then when you started working in the winery. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. And but I started to work to participate with the fermentation in a very difficult years in the early 70s when the weather was not cooperating. So I remember 72, 73 tragic, then okay 74, but other years 70 was very complex. It was a time when a lot of people were thinking to change business and not continue to making wine. Then fortunately the weather became much better for us. And so, and
It's always
Luca, sorry.
It's interesting to me listening to winemakers talk about vintages. You're talking about a vintage 52 years ago, as if
Mhm.
it was yesterday. You
Yeah,
still the pain, the pain of
yeah,
1970
yeah.
is still there.
You
Winemakers
remember?
are like that.
Yeah, the negative things are probably easier to remember. I don't know. But so and Luca, he joined us in 2016. Was lucky because he started with a great vintage, and so our history. So we are more than 200 years in so making wine these things, but the history has taught us that the results must be achieved slowly. So we have to make a big efforts and you have to wait. And it's important to have great family spirit and family culture to continue. But we think the most important thing is to have a vision. The family has a vision. Our family has managed over time to transmit the same vision and dedication through the generation. It's still our engine today until the new generation has the reception, obviously. Um, but this
Yeah,
is
tell me. Tell me a bit about how that vision works, because one of the things that strikes me is you make relatively you have quite a few wines.
Mhm.
Tell me kind of tell the listeners, uh, what is that philosophy?
Yeah, it was uh, believing in the terroir, in what we were doing. A lot of farmers was just, even our business, just cultivate the vineyards and other things just to survive and not to making something. To have a real project, and my also my ancestor, my great grandfather, they had a project, a real project about to do something special related to the terroir. So it's important to trust in the territory, and a lot of people didn't in the past. So which this was the advantage probably we had. We always we remain very small. We never had big production, but the idea was always there to make
Um,
something, to create something.
how many hectares do you have? I should know
Actually,
that.
we have around 20 hectares,
Okay, right. Wow,
mm,
wow, wow.
which
Um,
well, is not too much, but it's a lot of work.
sure. When I mean, how did your great grandfather, understand? How did he? Do you think he came to understand the terroir differences? Because I imagine that a lot of our understanding is quite modern. about
Mhm.
soil types and the influence and that kind of thing. But how
Mhm.
do you know how he came to kind of that view of terroir?
He started to travel. He was a lawyer, was not a farmer, but especially when he moved, he went to visit his cousin in London. He realized that was possible to make something different, something better, and the potential of he started to understand a little bit the potential of the region. Probably not 100%, but I think that that trip going through France, going up to London, it was the time when he realized it was possible to do something more important.
And did he go to? I mean, there's quite a few Piemontese winemakers who went to Burgundy and kind of opened their eyes a bit. Is that what happened to him? Do you think? Was there a
No,
Burgundy
no,
wine?
I think he didn't visit the French wine region, Bourgogne, but he realized it was an interesting market for wine in bottles, not only in demijohn and like it was the market at that time, also in the region.
Got it. I see. Um, And then talking about the wines that you make, you have an Arnese, a Freisa, Dolcetto.
Uh-huh.
The ones that I'm particularly interested in today are the Nebbiolo-based wines. So
Mhm.
you've got um, tell us what the wines are that you make, please. Tell us about them.
So about all the wines we are making, or the Nebbiolos.
Just the Nebbiolos, please.
Nebbiolos, okay. Well, we have Nebbiolos mostly planted in Neive, here where we in Serraboella. Then the recent acquisition, Basarino and Fazet. Plus in Alba, we have where I live in a property in Alba where we make Nebbiolo d'Alba and Langhe Nebbiolo. Our focus obviously is mostly Barbaresco. As you know, we work for a long time, more than 100 years, only in Serraboella with a single vineyard. And more recently, after Luca came on board, we acquired first Bazarin and then Fazet, but it's very recent, 2018, 2019. But we were able, since we work with one vineyard, all Serraboella. It's a big vineyard, but with some difference, but it's same hill. The difference is not very big. We learn how to diversify, so to recognize the small difference in our Serraboella. So the Soripaitin is the central part, the oldest property, which always gave us much more, I mean, quality, so more important wine with bigger aging potential. And the Serraboella are different plots around. Also, we purchased later in the last 80 years. Um, so with this, so working with the same, more or less the same soil, it was interesting to uh, approach other area like Basarina for that, which are especially Bazarin is not far from here, but it's very distant soil. Fazet is some way similar to here, but it is the question of microclimate here, not only in the soil. We talk about terroir normally in general.
Tell us what's the soils you've got in Serrabuella and the soils that you've got in Bazarin. What are they?
hmm So Bazarin, in this area, the hills were originated by the erosion in millions of years when after the soil came up from the ocean, and you can find much closer to the river, to the Tanaro River, more loamy soil with we call a limo, and then moving away from the soil, more clay, and then more sand, where we are much away from the the river. In case of Bazarin is much more sandy soil. As in our vineyards faces mostly south, but has a big, large valley in front, so it never gets too hot. And but the soil is much more sandy than Serraboella and also Fazet. Fazet is next to Asili, so very similar soil, but it's also very similar to the Serraboella. But the situation is different because the climate is mitigated by the river and has less variation of temperature. Serrabuella has gets warm and gets cool much faster because we can get a lot of wind from the ocean in Serrabuella. So even the soil are similar. With the effects are so the results are quite different.
So, no, so I remember being taught that a high diurnal range will give you more perfume in the
Hmm.
wine.
Hmm. Hi,
But,
sorry,
is that fair to say in Serrabuella?
sorry, I say it again.
When you have a high temperature range between day and night, that
Hmm. Yeah.
might give you a more perfumed, more aromatic wine.
Yes,
Is
in
that
general,
correct
yes.
to say?
Sarabuela, we have this situation in general, but also even Bazarin, which is not it is not such a big well temperature difference. It's has nice flavors, but a little less structure.
Yeah, and that will be the sand as well. This, you get less structure. Nebbiolo
Mhm.
acquires less structure when it's on sand compared to
We,
when it's on
yeah,
clay.
normally with more sandy soil, so especially in Alba, we have a new vineyard planted at the top of the hill, which is very sandy. And so this is lighter. We also mix some Lampia and Rosé. So it's very interesting. It's a lot of sand, but are the sand called Sabbia di Diano. So the sand you can find in Castiglione Falletto to the first part of Monforte. And but normally sands gives, especially in Roero, the sand of Roero gives so less tannins, makes less tannins in the wine and nice flavors. Maybe the wine cannot live very long, especially the Roero sand, but with the different flavors.
And that's because the the vine is getting less nutrients from the sand because the
Yes.
sand drains.
Mm.
The vines aren't quite as strong as they would be if they were on clay.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
Got it. Okay, great. Just talking about your new vineyards, you've got Facet, you mentioned,
Mhm.
uh,
Bazarin.
and Bazarin. Um, are you intending to do single vineyards of those in the future, or are you going to just blend them into the your
No,
just
we don't make a blend, Barbaresco blend. So
yeah,
so we have all single vineyards. So Mazarin Fazet will be in the future. We also will have in some years. We just replanted the Starderi vineyard and also another, but it will be question some more years. But all single vineyard. We are all from the grapes we have from the young vines are going all in Langhe Nebbiolo. We don't make just Barbaresco without not a single vineyard.
Are you enjoying this podcast? Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, for fascinating videos covering Stevie Kim and her travels across Italy and beyond, meeting winemakers, eating local food, and taking in the scenery. Now back to the show.
how many years do you wait before how old does the vine have to be before you think it's good enough to be
Normally 10
Barbaresco?
years. It depends different soils, but normally the first 10 years we make only Langhe Nebbiolo.
Got it. Um, tell us, can you tell us a bit about what what do you want your wines to do in the glass, in the bottle? How do you want your wines to be? How do you think your wines are best appreciated? You know, what style of because one of the reasons why I love Nebbiolo so much is because of all the different expressions it has and the different types of Nebbiolo you can get. What do you aim for? What your quality that you want to achieve?
Mhm. So now in the years this idea changed a little bit, especially talking about the 90s when we were flirting with the new wave of the new Nebbiolos made with the short maceration and these things. So in that period, it was more, I can say my fault. I was looking for a little more extraction in the wine back in the 90s, like 30 years ago.
You bought yourself a rotary fermenter, I believe.
Yes, yeah. We purchased a
Yeah.
rotary fermenter in 97, and we used for like 13 years, 12 years. Um, uh, the idea was to have more extraction, but we realized in a short time that with the short ferment maceration and a high temperature and the rotation, we had the much stronger tannic extraction, especially in hot vintages. In hot vintages, the wine became, we're supposed to have wine easier to drink, but was not because we have more extraction. We never made the super new vinification as some, especially in Barolo area, some producer made with like 4 days of maceration with Nebbiolo and then with a 35 Celsius of fermentation. So in this case, you cannot get a lot of tannins, but the wine was, I mean, little too soft. Mm, in After the 3 years, we started to make a little longer maceration in rotary fermenters, and then with a lower temperature. But the tannic extraction, again, especially in the hot, warm vintages, was still quite high. We changed. We decided not to use anymore the rotary fermenters. So also we introduced some small French barrels, like 500 liters, for Barbaresco, just a small percent in like 99, 2000, 2001. In 2010, we started to cooperate with a winemaker called Dante Scaglione. Dante Scaglione was a classmate when I made the wine school. He was for many years the Bruno Giacosa winemaker, and he suggested us to not to use anymore the rotary fermenters, even with the new system with long maceration, cool temperature, and so we have from 2010 we have the new a little change, so back to the past. Now the focus is so in the glass to have a very elegant wine with nice flavors. Then Nebbiolo is not is a wine that can change in 6 months. Sometimes it's not good as it was before. Then it becomes better. It's up and down. Some like some Pinot Noirs or some others. So what we want to have the focus is mostly the elegance of the wine. So we don't care anymore about the extractions and also the color. With the long maceration, we are losing some color, but the color is more stable and the elegance is much better than before. So with our maceration now is long, like 4 weeks for the Riserva. Sometimes it's even 8 weeks. Very with the submerged cap. Like my father did in the top vintages in the past. So what we want to have, and also especially Luca. Luca is a fanatic, is a Bourgogne fanatic, and so he likes.
Okay.
So it's easy to be a Bourgogne fanatic, but he likes they have real elegance in the wine.
So to you, the secret of making an elegant Nebbiolo is having what would you say is the top factor for
Mhm.
determining the elegance is
Is
the medium, the kind of that medium 4 week maceration, you would say,
yeah,
or
yeah, the maceration it helps, but yeah, the first before the vinification, you have to have the right terroir. You must be in the good condition with microclimates and soil. Otherwise, you can make all the efforts, and it's hard to make it. Then, so the longer maceration helps to reduce the quantity of tannins, because the harsh tannins normally are going to reduce in the longer maceration, and more extraction from the skins. So this situation, we are lucky in the last like 25 years, because the skin is in very good condition. Going back to the terrible years when I started, when we had problems with thin skin attacked by botrytis. In this case, it's impossible to think about long maceration. It's extremely important to have the perfect skin, like in most of the cases, to make the long maceration. And it's possible to get more elegance, but always it's important to have the right terroir, and also the right clone, the right variety. So we we have a blend. We have rosé in every vineyard. Different percent. Rosé is the variety gives much more flavors and much more elegance to the wines. Unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of structure. Making 100% rosé, the wine will be too thin, and maybe doesn't age very long. But rosé is very, very important to have the real elegance in Nebbiolo.
I don't know if you know a producer called Orlando Abrego, but he makes a
Yes.
wine. Yes, yeah, I've just listed his
Uh-huh.
CN111 or 111,
111, yes, yes.
which
We,
is just
uh-huh.
something for the nerds in the audience. This is
Yeah,
a wine that's named after the clone of
uh-huh.
Nebbiolo Rosé.
Yeah.
So
So
you can go and order some CN111 yourself and make your own.
we just planted 2 new vineyards this year, and one is 50% of 111. And in Roero, where we make the Arnaise, we replanted the vineyard 100% with 111, 111.
And I think technically it's now, if you ask some scientists, they would say it's actually a different variety. It's not Nebbiolo, it's a different grape called Nebbiolo Rosé. I don't suppose that makes a difference to you because you're growing it, but I've read that it's seen as thought to be a different variety.
It's so the three varieties Lampia, Miquette, and Rosé. Lampia and Miquette are very similar, so different, little bit different vegetation, and also the grapes. It's different shape. Rosé is very different because the leaves are different, and also when it's ripe. It looks like Pinot Gris. It doesn't look ripe. You have to turn around the fruit to understand if it's ripe or not. Especially the people don't know about rosé. I remember some time in the past when we had some pickers were not specialized about the Nebbiolo. They didn't pick. They left the rosé in the vineyard because they didn't know it was ripe.
Wow,
Um,
how funny.
yeah, it's strange. It's the vegetation. You can easily recognize the rosé even before is change the color. Is quite a little different. But now we have a lot of selection also about Lampia and Miquette to choose with more flavors, a little more color, some more tannic. It's I think is always important to mix different clones. In the case of this one in Roero, we decide to plant only this variety because we want to make this 100% 111 from Roero. But it takes another 4 years before to
What
get.
would you say? Just you've talked about Nebbiolo Rosé, but Lampia and Miquette. If I remember rightly, Lampia is thought to be more high quality. Have I got that right?
So Lampia has normally the bigger bunch. It's the fruit is a little bigger, and Miquette is much smaller with thicker skin. In general, the classic old Miquette, much more tannic. So to make an 100% Miquette is not really drinkable Nebbiolo because it will be tough, very tannic, much little more color. a lot of concentration, but not the best. We Now there are some clones from Lampia. They're very nice. They also The problem we had was the inconsistency of the production. Some years was made normal production, and next year only 25%. Was some variety was not reliable, so very complex.
Got it. Um, uh, Talking about your sites, I notice you've got this word "sorry"
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah.
in the name of your wines, which is something that I
Mm-hmm.
recently learned has it's a Piemontese dialect word. Is
Yes.
that
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
a
it means it's the sunny spot. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the sunniest part. So normally uh, south to west, and normally steep. When Even when the exposure is a good exposure, but is not steep, is not considered sorry. Must be steep and south to west. The This exposure, which is much warmer than for and steep, is normally poor soil. Poor soil is much better than the rich soil. Nebbiolo doesn't like rich soil. So, like many other grape varieties to make interesting wine, Nebbiolo is a pretty vigorous plant. If we choose soil with a lot of nitrogen, like eastern exposure or sometimes the northern exposure, it's not much the quantity of sun can get the plant, especially now it's warmer, but has too much vegetation. And normally this soil, especially in the northern exposure, has also too much humidity. Maybe it was good this year in 2003, 2005, or 17, but in general it's negative because the plants make too much vegetation and doesn't focus in the fruits. And so the sorry, we my father introduced on the label, put sorry Paitin back in the 70s, but was after a suggestion of an important journalist of the that period, called Luigi Veronelli.
Yes,
He was
this
the first.
man. I now there's I've met a couple of winemakers who attribute their success to
Mhm.
Veronelli. I was in Trentino in April at do you know Poyer e Sandri?
Poi Alessandro, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and his visit and his write up in 1973 was
Mhm.
to Poyer e Sandri was the turning point for them.
Uh, no, he
So amazing.
was an important person. He was the first to introduce wine and food in television in the 70s. Before
Oh, really?
nobody else did. Even we are food, wine is very important in Italy, but we never had before in television seriously. So no, before we had some, but was not. It was just for jokes. He was a real professional, Luigi, and we call Gino, and was a very great journalist. Sometimes even hard to understand from Italians. I was writing in Italian, but very sophisticated words, and but was fantastic, Gino. And when he was here back in the 70s, suggested my father to put on the label the name of the vineyard, which is the sorry Paitin is the old name is the nickname of the family, is not our uh, last name. And Bricco, another word we use, is related to the top, the highest point of the area.
Yeah, yeah. The
We are in
Bricco
Bricco
you
di
see,
Neive.
yeah, Bricco you see quite a lot throughout
Yeah,
Piemonte, the top of the hill, right? Whereas
yeah,
Sori
exactly.
is. I also
Sorry,
read that Sori is the spot that where the snow melts first.
yeah, the first, yes, normally
Right.
yes, yeah. Now the
Yeah.
snow is not much, is melting very fast everywhere. So we don't have much anymore.
Yeah.
But normally there is where the snow melt first is a good sign.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Um, One thing that you mentioned I read in your biography was that about when you went to America.
Hmm.
and because it's noticeable, like looking online, how much how many American importers write about your wines or how much coverage you get in America.
Hmm.
I know there's lots of Italians and Vinitaly themselves are
Yeah.
always fascinated by, Italian winemakers
Mhm.
being successful in America. How would you say you've? It seems to me you're successful in America. How have you done it? How does it work for you?
Yeah, so the adventure in the United States started in the late 70s. We met one agent at that time called Thomas Abruzzini. This guy, he was a visionary man. He was the vice president of Banfi Group, so the big American company, but he was mostly in charge of the buying Bordeaux en primeur. So he was going to the different chateaux. He was a super expert of Bordeaux, especially also in Bourgogne, but especially in Bordeaux. And since the parents were Italians, he didn't understand why the Italian wines, with the big, big possibility, didn't have a lot of success in the United States. And he started. He decided to open his own business as an agent, but before he traveled through Italy for a couple of years, just uh, moving in different regions and tasting the wines and making a lot of notes to understand about the Italian territory. So we met this guy back in the late 70s. He came one day at the winery. He was trying to put together some producers to have the same label, everyone with his own wine, independent with the name, but to have one label to make a promotion easy the promotion of the small producer, but it didn't work. So when we started to ship something to the States, and my first trip to the US was in 1984, and I realized how weak was the presence of the Italian wines in the United States. Was also probably also related to the lousy quality of most of the Italian restaurants at that time, and a lot of bad wine from the big wineries. Um, and then for us it was a big change because we started to make sell in some markets, and then he opened in different markets. Then we continue by ourselves because he changed a little bit of the strategy, and then we started to work with Marco de Grazia in the 90s. Mark was another visionary guy. He started in the 80s. It was very important for the Piemonte wines. During Marco de Grazia, we enlarged the distribution. Now, even we are very small. We have 21 distributors in the US. So they're covering like more than 30 states. So
Oh
it's
my God, that must be. Oh my God,
even too much.
yeah.
And it is still it's important for us. US is our main market. The second market is UK.
Great, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Mhm.
And now, in
Yeah.
fact, I think your son Luca has just managed to join. I believe Luca was traveling, but now he's
Mhm.
here. Hey, Luca.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Gianluca.
That's good
Ciao.
timing. Seeing as we're talking about kind of international and new markets and all the rest of it, maybe we could talk to you now a bit about the future for Python. We've heard some
Okay,
very
good.
great history. We can talk
Can be
about
a quite can be a quite a long question, a long answer, speaking about
okay.
the future. But I would say that if I need to speak about the future, probably the most urgent thing is how we need to tackle the climate. Um, to preserve the quality we always had in our wines. And so this is for me the most urgent part of our objective. As a consequence, this year has been quite a great testing year for we will see after the fermentation are finished if our efforts has been worth. I think that we try to approach. We haven't removed, for example, almost any leaves from all the from all the plants to avoid any wound and evaporation of water. So this was a way to keep the plant preserving all the water they had. We manage the canopy in a different way without taking out some branches that normally were preventing the humidity to move away from the plant. We moved the soil, we fermented the soil to avoid the soil evaporation, and then many other things. We also spray kind of powder mixed with water to reflect 10-15% of the radiation of the sun. So those are some of many other experiments with fungus and that we are and algae that we are experimenting in the vineyards to preserve the elegance and the class that always distinguish Barbaresco. And so I think this is the most challenging and funnier part of our activity today.
Tell me about the spray. You're not talking about copper sulfate. You're talking about a spray that just to reflect sunlight.
See, essentially, it's just soil. It's a powder of soil, mineral powder, that was used in the past for constructions too. It essentially is very, very white, and it goes on the plant. You spray it even once is enough if you have like a heat wave coming, and it does a bit of reflection. Normally, it is considered 10-15%. It is just water and soil, nothing. After 3-4 rains, probably we will be washed away. But this is a good way to reduce the amount of radiation, limiting the photosynthesis. It's also prolonging a little bit the ripening of the fruits.
Okay. And do you think so your approach to kind of to combat climate change, is it going to be focused on this kind of canopy management, that and the sprays? That's the kind of the headline. What else might you do, or how else are you thinking about, how to respond to future temperature increases?
But for sure, so another way that will take a little bit more longer would be like selection maybe of newer clones that are able to tackle better the climate. We already did since I think my family always had quite attention for the rootstock, and when I joined the winery, we also had like a little bit more attention on the rootstock selection. So essentially, we're able now to have rootstocks that are kind of rupestri based, so very resistant to dry weather. And so those are all elements, and also a lot of research will be needed from some more complex institutes for better Nebbiolo also for the future. But this is something that is outside of our potential, and we rely on the community. So we try to stimulate the community, and we hope that as a community of Barbaresco and Barolo, we will be able to stimulate some research from our local institutions.
Do you work with the University at Torino, or who do you work with for your kind of technical advice, or do you talk to everyone?
Yes, for sure, there is like a close connection with the University of Torino. Some professor of the University of Torino has a branch in Alba, so it's very easy to communicate. And then most of the research on the clones is also done by the Rauscedo company, who is the one that makes most of the small plants for the North Italian viticulture.
Oh yeah, I think I think that yes, I think I've seen them, and they'll sell you a clone. What and then talking about outside of climate change, kind of new markets. Where else do you see what markets are embracing Barbaresco and Nebbiolo internationally?
So internationally, we are seeing much more demand also from the Asian market. Japan has always been a quite established market, and we work with Japan, I think, since I was a kid. I always heard about shipping wine to Japan, and my father can confirm that. But now we have like many more requests from Singapore, Hong Kong, mainland China, many different areas that are asking for having the opportunity to taste the wine and to see and to check also the reaction from the market. And the few reaction we had were extremely great. Our market now is a little bit more. It came now to be solid is the northern European market that maybe 10, 15 years ago was almost non-existing and instead became very important for the Nebbiolo area. Also because it was very easy to travel to our area, so we had like a very strong influx of northern European people coming and visiting. They loved the area, and so it was easy then to buy and get passionate with the wine.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. Probably final question. You mentioned that you work in the community in Barbaresco. Who are the other producers in Barbaresco, and perhaps Barolo as well? Who else do you admire? Do you kind of compare notes with? Who else are your kind of hero producers? Your neighbours?
So for hero producers, we have we have many to admire. I think that each one has works with. I admire people that are able to make out of their soil one very unique expression. In Barbaresco, I would say that I'm cooperating very well with, for example, Riccardo Sobrino from Cascina delle Rose, Luisa Rocca from Bruno Rocca, Ludovica from Marchesi di Gresi. Those are friends in which we often meet. The four of us plus some other Gabriele Cortese from Gabriele Occhetti from Giuseppe Cortese are many
Oh
people
yeah.
that essentially we often find each other together. We discuss, we exchange some information, and we also create like a little political community, let's say, to show the power of the small farmers and to have like more also representation in when we're speaking with bigger institution or political would say authorities, having a voice of the farmer that has been much more influential in the decision.
Yes, of course. Yes, if I think about some of those other producers you mentioned, I suppose there's a common theme would be elegance. I tasted the Cortese ones with Gabriele earlier this year,
Mm.
and they have the same, the same elegance and poise as your wines. That's super interesting. Thank you very much. Um, uh, Great. Joy, I think we might be drawing to an end unless you've got any more, or Leica, if you're there, if you've got any more questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That was a great interview, and I'm wondering if we have any questions. But if anybody thinks of a question that they would like to ask at any point after this, they're always welcome to email me at info@italianwinepodcast.com, and I can forward it to anybody who spoke today. And Luca, it's nice to meet you as well. um,
My pleasure.
all right. So, without further ado, actually, Leica, do you know if there are, and do we have any more clubhouses coming up before I sign out?
Yes, actually, we have a lot of clubhouses ongoing. We're still like preparing for it, but then the confirmed one we have is going to be on September 12th on a Monday next week at 6 p.m. It's going to be Robert Maggie interviewing Marica Maggie, and they're not related. That's what he told me for sure. So she's from Cantina La Marquesa in Puglia. So see you next week then.
Until next week, and thank you, Giovanni. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Luca. That was
Thank you.
really fun. I love to listen to that. That was great.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thanks,
very welcome.
everybody.
If people can get anyone listening can get hold of the Barbaresco Sori Paitin 2019, that's my big bet for something that's going to age in an incredible way. I feel like the case I've bought has been an amazing investment, and I'm going to have to wait 10 years to find out just how amazing it is. But bravo, Giovanni and Luca. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, everybody. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thank
Grazie.
you.
Grazie.
Thank you, everyone. That's awesome. Thank you.
Ciao a tutti.
Sniff, seconds. Once again, here we go.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode brought to you by the Wine to Wine Business Forum 2022. This year will mark the 9th edition of the forum, to be held on November 7th and 8th, 2022, in Verona, Italy. Remember, tickets are on sale now, so for more information, please visit us at winetowine.net. Guys, I'm Joy Livingston, and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love, and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.